why are people not telling the pollsters what they really think? Doesn't it say something profound about the way in which people are now feeling obliged to say things that they don't believe to be true, and even to contradict their own conscience?
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. It reminds me, I went to a talk, this must be something like at least 15 years ago. It was before the political correctness became as virulent as you just suggested it has now become. Nathan Sharansky had a new book out. This is the thing. He was a Jewish refusnik and spent many years in prison in the Soviet Union, and now he's a prominent parliamentarian in Israel. He had a new book out. He was speaking here at the Stanford campus. And he said that if you wanted to sum up the Soviet existence, that was what it came to, that you were forced to repeat lies. You were forced in public to say things that you knew to be untrue. In your family, when you're absolutely certain you were among yourselves, you could tell the truth. But in school, in the workplace, in a store, in the street, you had to say things that you knew were untrue. And that was deeply corrosive of the human spirit. Now, we're not the Soviet Union, but people feel intimidated. Ordinary Americans feel intimidated. I was talking to a friend who said 4 years ago, here in Northern California, which is a liberal part of the country, he wouldn't put a Trump poster in his yard, Trump for president placard in his front yard, because he was afraid it would get stolen. Here we are 4 years later. This time he and his wife wouldn't do it because they were afraid somebody would throw a brick through their window. That increase in the level of intimidation that people feel. And again, this is why Trump got 9 more million votes this time around than he did 4 years ago. But yes, I agree completely. That's the canary in the coal mine in American politics, that people don't feel at liberty to tell pollsters what they really think.
Ronald Reagan, of course, was brilliant at using humour to highlight that whole corrosive influence of people not being able to tell the truth. I remember he used to tell a story about, he told a story about going out somewhere into a rural area of Russia. Whether he did or not, I don't know. But the story was along the lines of the man from Moscow coming to inquire about the crops. How's the wheat? And he's told by the collective farm manager, wheat, there's so much of it. We don't know where to store it all. And what about the potatoes? The potatoes, why there's so many of them? They reach to the sky. They reach to the very heavens themselves. To which and he was told, no, we don't do heaven. There is no God. To which the farm manager replied, well, that's a good thing because there's no wheat and there's no potatoes either. Not that I can do a Reagan impersonation. That wasn't your line, was it?
No, that wasn't mine. No. He loved, first of all, he had a huge collection of jokes and he had a tremendous memory. So he never forgot a joke. But everybody who went to the Soviet Union, he used to love jokes that were being told in the Soviet Union. So people, ambassadors, diplomats, when they heard a new joke, they'd bring it back to the president. There was another one. Russian lady goes to the store and buys herself a little Soviet refrigerator. And the salesman says, thank you very much, madam. We'll deliver that in 6 months. And she says, 6 months to the very day. And he said, well, I suppose so. I don't see what difference it makes, but I suppose. And she said, well, will you be coming in the morning or the afternoon? And he said, but what difference could it possibly make? And the lady replied, well, the plumber is coming in the morning.
Before we come to Ronald Reagan, because I'd be very interested in your views of the man and the role, where he really belongs in history, if you can be unbiased, because I know you regarded him as so highly from a personal point of view, hard to disentangle yourself, but he had a remarkable impact. But before we do, I just want to tease out a little bit more this ugliness that we're getting from those who think they know best. You've had Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, is that how you pronounce it? Here's another one, high-profile journalist. To be fair, the new president is reaching out. He's saying time now to all be Americans. But no, you've got these people, and Jennifer Rubin, another one from the Washington Post, calling for a cancel list of those who helped Trump over the years. And Rubin wrote, I'm quoting, I find this unbelievable, a senior journalist, it's not only that Trump has to lose, but that all his enablers have to lose. We have to collectively, in essence, burn down the Republican Party. We have to level them, because if there are survivors, if there are people who weather this storm, they will do it again. Has this woman no understanding of history and no respect for the dignity and beliefs and rights of the freedom of conscience of her fellow Americans?
John, I don't know how to explain. You touch a nerve with me on that one, because Jen Rubin, I used to consider Jennifer Rubin a friend. She used to be quite conservative and a very reasonable and a totally delightful person. And this is that's poison. She has dipped her pen in poison to produce that. I don't know how to explain it, except that this notion it's over here. It's Trump TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, which gets tossed around as a kind of joke, right? But it does seem to be the case that he really has, in some ways, people really have become deranged by the politics we've gone through in these last 4 years. So I can't explain that except to say that it's outrageous. I can't explain it, but I can certainly condemn it.
This is this problem, isn't it? I think
she should be ashamed of herself, and I say that of someone who was a friend.
And this is, so I think it's your Arthur Brooks who's sort of coined this concept that you can see anger, but it's in America and in the West, and there's a lot of anger. It's when it's coupled with disgust that you then get contempt. Oh, these people should be simply cancelled. We shouldn't have to hear them. They're subhuman. And at that point, why can't these people understand that that's precisely what gives rise to the things they say they don't like? A reaction, because my personal view is, for a long time, that people who say Trump's the problem are misunderstanding things completely, if that's their perspective. They ought to be recognising Trump was the result of people feeling cut out, same as Brexit, people feeling not listened to, feeling that their values were being, to use the word, trumped and dismissed.
I agree. I agree. I'm at a loss here, because your underlying question is, explain it. Why? How have we come to this? And I can't explain it.
It's probably
I just
rhetorical.
cannot explain it.
But I did, well, I understand, I'm probably being unfair, but just on this whole issue, late last year, you said something that I thought was really interesting. You said this: there is indeed an existential threat to the freedom of thought, conscience and expression, which are indispensable to our democracy, but it does not come from Donald Trump. Who were you talking about? Can I put it that way?
I said that. That was really quite well put.
Yeah, it's beautifully. That's why I used it. You're a master craftsman with the English language, an American who writes English well.
I have no memory of saying that, but I do believe it for certain. If you look back, Donald Trump has said things that were untrue, and he brags, and he's a vulgar. All that is true. I grant every bit of that. But I take, for example, the so-called Russian hoax. 3 years of this, for 3 years, this country was tied up on the basis of a dossier that we now know was paid for ultimately by the Democratic Party. We now know that the FBI understood that it was reliable intelligence. I'm sorry to go into the details here, but there's really no other way. That the FBI misrepresented, willfully, knowingly misrepresented the findings of this so-called Russian dossier to a FISA court, which is a secret court to which our intelligence agencies must go before they pursue certain kinds of actions. We now know that a member of the FBI doctored an email, because he has confessed to doing so now. So there you have our American intelligence agencies willfully attempting to pervert the outcome of a presidential election. They're going after Donald Trump because somehow or other they feel that they are the guardians of the country and that he is not. And I can tell you one other place where that happened, and that is Chile, where Augusto Pinochet believed that the military was the guardian of the Constitution and of the country, and Salvador Allende was not. Now, this country is in Chile, and honestly, as best I have been told that the Chilean Constitution was actually open to that interpretation, that Pinochet, that the military is the ultimate guarantor of this country. Set all that aside, they'd be horrified by the comparison between themselves and Augusto Pinochet, but I don't see that it's out of place at all. There was a real attempt by American intelligence agencies, at a minimum, to thwart, and in the end to bring down a sitting president. Item one. Item two, abetting this effort were all the mainstream media. Cheering them on were the universities. So all the elite opinion, not all, there are always going to be exceptions. There are honorable people scattered here, there, and everywhere. But broadly speaking, elite opinion, people who enjoy the benefits of American life almost more than any other Americans, by which I mean the faculty of our great universities, journalists. I don't know what you think about journalism, but I think it's a wonderful way to lead your life, actually, to be paid to ask questions and write the answers and investigate fascinating stories. All of them participated in this huge perversion of justice. And now we're meant to, and Donald Trump was impeached on the basis of, well, he was impeached on that, and he was crude in a telephone call with the president of Ukraine. My point is that Donald Trump is far more sinned against than sinning.
Thank you for watching this episode. We appreciate your support. If you value vital conversations like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel there and also click the notification bell to stay up to date with new releases.